Maclean, Editorial Director of Cablefax, and I am thrilled to welcome you today to the Climbing the HR Career Ladder session. I have been attending the C2HR conference for years now, and it's always really interesting to hear about the industry from an HR perspective. And even when we're doing it virtual, it's still fun. And speaking of virtual, I want to just take a moment to invite you to our own Cablefax virtual event on December 4th. For Cablefax's Most Powerful Women. Our Most Powerful Women magazine will release that morning. You might see some familiar faces in there. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we're gonna have a free virtual celebration. It'll be festive, it'll be fun. We hope you join us. And speaking of fun, Cablefax has been C2HR's Human Resources Award partner for many years. And today I'm pleased to be joined by two aspiring HR leaders. Awarded annually since 2012, the Aspiring Leader is an emerging HR professional whose fresh perspective, innovative ideas, and innovative strategies have positively impacted an organization. There is no one better to introduce you to the 2020 Aspiring Leader than Kim Lee, Senior Manager for Charter Communications.
My name is Kim Lee. I'm the Senior Manager of Sourcing within our Sales and Marketing Recruitment Department here at Charter. I was asked to introduce Christine Calandros to you today. She is the Senior Director of Sales and Marketing Recruitment and my leader. I would like to share parts of my nomination with you as my form of introduction. It really showcases the attributes and accomplishments that I appreciate and admire most about her. I met Christine virtually when she began her career with Charter in September of 2016. Christine joined Charter Communications months after the merger between Charter Communications, Time Warner Cable, and White House Networks. Upon arrival, she stepped into the middle of process, system, and culture nuts due to our merger. Christine took each challenge head on and with great stride. In addition, she shifted the way sales and marketing recruiters produced as she immediately implemented a metrics-driven focus. This culture shift was a stepping stone to the productive and successful team that has grown to where we are today. The full headcount of Christine's organization upon arrival in 2016 was around 45 employees. Currently, Christine's organization is well over 140 employees. Christine's team has implemented numerous tools and processes that have been since adopted by multiple recruitment departments within Charter as a result of her team's efficiencies. Christine is a forward thinker. She never sits idle, which are traits that I appreciate most about her leadership style. Christine's drive and tenacity, along with the strong leaders that she has placed by her side, have allowed additional departments to be placed under her scope over the last 4 years. Because of this growth, the number of positions filled by Christine's team in 2017 versus 2018 increased by 33%. In 2019, her team hired more than double what they produced in 2018. As we navigate through the waters of 2020, we continue to deliver best-in-class talent while broadening our service delivery model. It is so refreshing to be under the umbrella of such a passionate leader as Christine. She is concise with her directives and doesn't hesitate to implement recommended process improvements. Christine inspires our teams to produce at our peak because we feel extremely valued and heard under her direction. Christine Calandros' response to the pandemic is a prime example of how she excels on the fly as a leader. As we all experienced with COVID, there was no blueprint to follow. Christine's forward-thinking leadership was on full display. She proactively implemented a virtual job fair platform within her team in January of 2019. Therefore, there was no need for us to be reactive on that front in March of this year. During the start of the pandemic, this virtual platform was rolled out to Charter's entire organization's recruitment teams. Christine took on the COVID challenge head on. She is an engine and is always leading us and moving us forward with such an incredible charge. For this reason, we pushed through the infancy of COVID as one unit versus 140 plus individuals. The partnership that has been needed during this pandemic has made our teams even more cohesive. It takes a strong leader to establish a healthy culture for all to gravitate towards. Due to the foundation that Christine has set over the last 4 years, coupled with leading us through the challenge of COVID with empathy and support, we have been able to display resilience throughout 2020. I have the pleasure of introducing my leader, Christine Calandros, Senior Director of Sales and Marketing Recruitment at Charter. Congratulations, Christine, on your well-deserved award.
Jen. Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be here today and grateful to be the recipient of the C2HR 2020 Aspiring Leader Award, which recognizes leaders who are inventive and innovative. To be considered for this award is a great privilege, and I'd like to thank C2HR and Kim for the nomination. I joined the charter team just over 4 years ago and was hired to lead the sales and marketing recruitment team. At the time, our mission was quite clear: stand up a best-in-class recruiting team with a unified culture. To be honest, 4.5 years later, I approach each day with a similar goal, challenging myself and the team on how we can continue to evolve to ensure we are meeting the needs of our business, our candidates, and the external marketplace. Today, our team is set up in a functional and centralized model, and we have 3 pillars from which we operate: recruitment, sourcing, and operations. This model continues to demonstrate great agility in all that we do, and innovation is at the heart of everything. The sales and marketing recruiting team delivers just about 50% of Charter's total organizational hires, and we do so by deploying a high-tech, high-touch recruitment strategy. The technology stack needs to be best in class and, of course, is essential. However, I believe that the people who power the process and power the technology is truly what makes the magic happen. So nothing is possible without an incredible team, and I am exceptionally fortunate to be surrounded by an amazing team of professionals who bring their very best to everything that they do, personally and professionally. The sales and marketing recruiting team is the reason that I am accepting this honor today. And in particular, I would like to thank Dave DeLuke, Todd Daniels, Kevin Sweeney, Kim Lee, and Deb Alson. Yes, I do believe that teamwork makes the dream work. I'm very fortunate to work at Charter, a connectivity company that connects its customers with the essential services that they need the most. And really, within the sales and marketing recruitment team, our goal is quite similar. We are connecting candidates who are likely our customers with the career that is right for them. So our work will continue to evolve, and I will look forward to my future at Charter in attracting talent and trailblazing new and innovative ways to do that. So thank you all so much, and a special thank you to C2HR for this incredible honor.
Wow, Christine, you have certainly made a significant mark on the recruiting efforts within Charter. Congratulations. As the 2020 Aspiring Leader, you're following in the footsteps of other high impact leaders, including Jennifer Znaniecki, the 2019 Aspiring HR Leader. Jennifer is the Senior Director of Learning and Development at Mediacom Communications, and she helped lead Mediacom's diversity and workplace behavior efforts, and she's been instrumental in building the company's Respect program. So I'm really pleased to have you both here with us today for this fireside chat. So this is live, and I know our audience must have a ton of questions for our aspiring leaders. So I want you to not be shy at all. There's an ask button right there. Just pop in those questions as they come to you, and we will definitely be taking them. I have plenty of questions myself, so I'm just going to jump in here. Jennifer, I love that you both come from very different backgrounds, and I think you'll have some interesting perspectives to share from that. And I was really, impressed to learn from Jennifer that she started at Mediacom more than 20 years ago as a frontline dispatcher working the second shift. Can you tell us about your career trajectory, Jennifer?
Yeah, hello everybody. Well, first of all, I just want to give a quick shout out to Christine. Congratulations on the award, well deserved. So yeah, a little bit about myself. As you mentioned, I'm kind of one of those success stories. I started at the ground level and I've worked my way up over the years. Originally, I started on second shift because that allowed me to work on my bachelor's degree during the day, really. So, kind of my short story, what happened is at the time that I was graduating college, I was promoted to manager, and also about that same time, Mediacom purchased the MSO I was working for. Now, keep in mind, this is over 20 years ago, so the broadband connection we all can't do without, and all of the fabulous technology we have today that we I think, kind of take for granted was really in its infancy stages. So Mediacom came in and said, hey, we're going to do all these great things. We're going to install this new technology, and really painted a pretty cool picture of where they wanted to take their company. So at the time I decided, you know what, I'm going to stay and take this ride and see where we go. So I found out pretty quickly I love this industry. I love all of the constant changes to technology, the really progressiveness that we are. I love working for a company that I can talk to anyone from the frontline technician to our senior executive team, and I have been blessed to always really work on a pretty fabulous team. So, I'd like to say at this point my career is mapped out, and I know what I want to do when I grow up, but really for me, I'm kind of known as a nosy Rosie. And I feel like I'm a hands-on leader, and I try to go by my motto of make it your business to know your business. Not just necessarily in your scope of work, but really putting yourself out there to learn as much as you can. So through these 20 plus years, I've been able to really learn a lot about the different facets of the business. I've been able to network myself with a lot of individuals and great teams. So when I need answers to questions, I know exactly who to go to. So what I figured out pretty quickly is I really just love to share the knowledge that I have. And I feel like if we're not learning, we're not growing. So if I apply that every day, it has worked out to my benefit. So here I am today.
And Christine, you've been outside the media and broadband world a little bit, so you have maybe a different viewpoint when you came in. What has your career journey been like?
Sure. So my career journey actually started in more of a consulting services capacity. So I began early on, actually on the agency side, and that's where I learned how to recruit. So, really from the ground up, understand how to communicate with candidates, make that match with the candidate in the right role. And then through spending about 15 years or so with one particular organization, worked my way through that company and started to get more involved in management, started to get more involved in client sales and account management, and then ultimately found my niche in more of the business process outsourcing types of solutions. And so what that means is I was working closely with clients, particularly in the financial services sector, investment banking to be very specific. And we would go in and we would architect the right workforce solution to meet that client's needs. And so very often it was creating end-to-end recruitment process outsourcing solutions, managed services programs that focus more on how an organization may bring contingent talent in and out to augment its workforce as needed, and then even a touch of business process outsourcing, which really focused on core functions in recruiting that could be outsourced to a provider, such as recruitment coordination or sourcing. And so from there, I really had a personal goal to make that bridge out of the agency consulting services side and move more into a corporate environment. And so I was with the Royal Bank of Scotland for about 5 years and was, in charge and running the North American talent acquisition team. And quite frankly, RBS took a little bit of a chance on me. I didn't have the typical corporate background, but I believe what helped me was the vision to look at every solution through the lens of a client. And that holds true today. So really looking at your challenges with that consultative approach to say, what are we doing today? What is the end state? And then how are we going to bridge those gaps to get there? And that has carried with me, pretty consistently within my role at Charter here as well. So that's a big picture overview of my journey.
Okay. Well, for someone like me who doesn't come from the HR world, I think we tend to think HR, it's all the same. And then the more I spend with C2HR and with these awards, I learned that there's very different disciplines, and you both are great examples of that. Christine comes at things from the recruiting side. Jennifer, you're very involved in learning and development. There's so many different options out there. I mean, how do you find your specialty? Where do you find your niche? And does it change?
Yeah, so I'm happy to take a stab at that. And Jennifer, please add on. I definitely think it changes. So, personally speaking, I had so much exposure to the different facets of HR from where I began my career. So I could see not only those different areas, but those different areas within different organizations. So whether it's L&D, whether it's recruitment, whether it's employee relations or different components or offshoots, I think it's important to have a broad view to understand well enough what each is, and then you will gravitate toward what may be the most attractive at that time. But if we look at my world today as an example, there's so much fluidity. So there's recruiters who may be interested more in the generalist space, or L&D professionals that may have a different attraction to another part of HR. So I think keeping your options open and raising your hand to say, hey, I'd like to learn more about this, is a very smart way to approach the ongoing knowledge that's needed.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for our industry, again, it's ever changing. So, what we look like today is very different than 5, 10, 15 years ago. And as time marches on, I think that that's just going to continue. So, you're absolutely right. Always looking for what are those opportunities, what's going on, and, where can we shift? It really opens the doors, I think, for a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
So reading about both of you, what some of your colleagues had to say, I noticed that both of you, there were several mentions that you're proactive. And I think especially right now when we're living through these, let's call them compelling times, how do you hone that skill to stay a step ahead in this environment?
Well, I'll start with this one. I can tell you more times than not, we're certainly not living in Jennifer's world of perfect. So, for us to be proactive and continue to be agile with, all of the changes that are happening, I find for myself and my team, it's really always trying to look 5 steps ahead. And we're always trying to plan for both the best and the worst scenario. Another key feature for us has really been consistent and constant communication, always keeping a pulse of what's going on. That allows us to be agile, and as things pop up, we can, move and shift as need be. So really through a lot of planning, a lot of good communication, we're able to hurdle a lot of the roadblocks that have been coming up in front of us, really without not too many setbacks, just because, again, planning has been so essential for us, and trying to gauge where we're going to be in the next day, week, month, and so forth.
So, and I would agree with that. I would add on to say that I think as business professionals, regardless of our areas of expertise, it's so imperative that we are just in tune with what is happening within the marketplace and the individuals that we're looking to either connect with or attract, if we're speaking within the recruitment channel, and understanding, what are the most effective ways of communicating, and ensuring that we are then applying those tactics and techniques into what our BAU process is. Additionally, being really open with your team and having your team know that they can come to you with any ideas that they may have, and you can explore that more thoroughly, has been exceptionally helpful for us. So what we'll see and what I've seen quite commonly is some of the best ideas that we've come up with that's enabled us to be proactive, particularly in this time of COVID, has come from the fantastic minds of the folks who are on the team. And so again, I think it's that open line of communication where people feel comfortable to be able to say, hey, did we think about this? And even if it sounds a little, out of realm initially, still pull that thread all the way through and explore it and see how you can make it happen. And that's helped us significantly as we've been, really propelled into a different way of working in the COVID timeframe that we're in right now.
Yeah, it's definitely different times, and there are a lot of challenges to the business, and especially on the reporter side, I'm constantly writing about layoffs and restructurings, and there may be people in the audience who find themselves looking for a job right now. What's your advice for, especially in this climate, what should they be doing?
Well, I think, from the recruitment perspective, I think it's really important to keep your networks very active. So professional networking is very important. As we know, individuals pride themselves on their career profile or their resumes. Make sure that that is up to date in an online digital manner. Be comfortable with connecting the way that we are right here and now, because that has changed. And be open to roles that maybe you would not have been before. So if we look at the external marketplace, companies, or I should say industries that may have been hiring 8 months ago, that industry schematic looks very different right now. But think about the transferable skills that an individual may have and put yourself out there. I think that's the biggest. Take a challenge on yourself sometimes and put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. I've had friends and family who have been impacted through everything that's happening, and for several of them, they found at the end of the day, they really made a hard change. Initially, it looked like out of necessity. You've got bills to pay and families to take care of, but now that they're on the other side of that, many of them are finding that they really have put themselves in a better position over what they thought that they had lost in the beginning. So Christine, to your point, really just, looking past your narrow avenue and really exploring some other possibilities. And if nothing else, ask questions, get more information, help make yourself an educated decision. But, certainly there are still things out there for folks to move into.
And people are eager to help people. And so I think asking the question, Jennifer, to your point, is so spot on. Ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for, a point in what that right direction may be. And you may likely surprise yourself at just how much people want to help.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this session, I think, is called Climbing the HR Ladder. And it made me wonder, at this time, can you be climbing the HR ladder? If you're fortunate enough to have a job, you're not someone who's laid off, maybe, you're maybe somewhat in crisis mode. Is there still opportunity to advance right now, or is it just, let's get through this?
So go ahead, Jennifer.
Go ahead.
I believe that there's a happy medium to everything. And so is there opportunities for people to advance at times of a crisis, Amy, to your point, or times when there's not? Sure, I believe that there is. I think what's really happening now is we're just having to pivot and do our work in a different manner than what we have done in the past, but the need to be connected and at our very best and at our peak from a performance perspective. Quite frankly, I think the spotlight is on all of us to do that and to do that really well, because this is an uncertain time. So I would say yes, I believe that there's still opportunity, even in a time such as this, for individuals to have that mobility, whether it be, a lateral move or, an upward move, or however you're really defining movement within your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would add to that too, for I think most or all of us, this has been a big change between the work-life balance. And people are finding things out about themselves that maybe they didn't realize beforehand. And Christine, I think you mentioned it just a bit ago, really making your intention known. You know, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's what I'm good at, here's what I'd like to know more of, and what can we do with that, and where can we take our individuals to?
Well, we were sort of joking in the green room about some of that, and for instance, my son, my 9-year-old son, has trombone lessons from his virtual school here in about an hour. So our lives have definitely changed, and we've all had to throw our playbook out the window during COVID. For you personally, what's changed?
So, you know, I think that really the entire landscape has changed. So not even professionally speaking, I mean, we overnight pivoted and we're hiring people in a completely different manner. So everything is virtual. And then if we take that and put it to the side and think about our personal lives, we're having to figure out what that balance looks like. And so to your point, how are you conducting those meetings from a home office when your son or daughter has a musical instrument lesson that they're doing with their teacher? Or, you know, who's home with the kids on times that you normally wouldn't have needed that? Or how are you caring for a parent or friend when you're nervous that you may, you know, just not be feeling well? And so this is where the support of our employers is so critically important, to have that flexibility to meet those ever-changing needs. And the need today will be different 30 days from now. And that is one thing that we can all count on if history repeats itself. Nothing has stayed the same in the past 6 months at all.
Yeah. I can say for myself and my team, you know, pre-COVID, change management was a little bit of the job role, but today it's become a major function. You know, we are constantly changing our protocols, our policies, our processes as things ebb and flow. And it's required us to be more hyper diligent than ever to try and stay on top of all of those moving pieces and parts. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, sometimes I feel like I'm trying to nail Jell-O to the wall and make sure that everything's on pace. But Christine, you're absolutely right. It's that internal, whether it's your team, your personal support system, or, you know, the larger support system at our companies, it makes all the difference in the world, you know, to be able to reach out and ask for help, or just come together for the common goal and work as quickly as we can to make sure production stays up and everybody's safe.
And our teams will take the cue from their leaders. So as leaders, it's very important that we are helping to set the stage to create that culture and that environment of reassurance. And if you do that and you do that well, I think the culture that you will end up building and how we will come out of this is exceptionally stronger than what we would have ever imagined.
Yes, absolutely.
So Christine, earlier you mentioned your personal network. I wonder if you could both of you could give some advice on just developing that network, and especially again now, how do you keep, when you're not seeing people maybe day to day in the office, how do you keep that network, you know, alive and thriving?
Sure. And so the network is really important. And so we all know that we use LinkedIn for a lot of that networking. I think that the key is taking time out of your day to be proactive around what that network means. And so coming out of, you know, even this session here, you know, ensuring that we keep connected, and that becomes an extension and part of the network, and touching base with those individuals, reaching out to those individuals, being there to be that point of guidance or to answer that question, and being mindful about it. So if you're not making time within the day to do an outreach, to do an email, to pick up the phone, I find that just picking up the phone and checking in sometimes with someone can mean more than the email, because not many people are doing that in our fast-paced world that we're in today. So it's about thinking of who you've connected with, making that outreach, and being mindful and proactive around keeping those networks alive.
Yeah. And I think too, also, you know, asking for help or asking for ideas. I have a lot of peers in the medical or banking industry. And it's interesting, a lot of the struggles that we're facing with trying to manage everything today, it's not unique to us. And so reaching out and having a discussion, what are you doing about this item, or what are you doing in this arena, has been very helpful. Just, to cultivate new ideas, or just to feel like, yeah, I'm on the right track, and we're doing okay. And, Christine, you mentioned the personal touch. I send and receive a lot of emails every day, but I have found, through all of this the last several months, picking up the phone does make a big difference. And it's not necessarily, checking in on a workload. It's, how are you doing? How are you holding up? What can I do to help? How can I be of service? And it really does go a long way, and make people feel we're more connected, even though we've never been more remote.
Right.
A reminder, we are coming near to the end of our panel, so if you do have questions, to press that ask button and send those in. We do have one that come in that it's a Christine, your motto was teamwork makes the dream work, but they missed part of Jennifer's. Can you share your motto?
Oh, make it your business to know your business.
That's a good one. Well, and, speaking of business and business as usual, I think someone at Comcast used the phrase with me, business as new, because when we get through this, it's not going to be business as usual. It's business as new, right? What do you think you will be taking from this time and applying in your new normal?
So I think that we as a team will be taking some of the efficiencies that we've picked up in how we communicate, in how we interact, and quite frankly, how we even make some of our hiring decisions. So we have been forced to think out of the box and do things in ways that we may not have thought we would be doing. And we measure everything. So we look to see, is this working? Is this not? And data always helps us to tell that story. And what we're seeing is that we actually are, connecting with candidates more, having more meaningful interactions with those individuals, whether it be through Zoom such as this. And I believe that a lot of that will become our new norm.
And I think for us too, we're certainly all outfitted with a lot of technology, and we thought we were pretty good at it pre-COVID. And, again, for the last several months, we have really been kind of forced to be a little bit more, just, again, thinking outside of the box. How can we make these connections more personal when you can't be in the same space? How can we convey all of the information that we need to, and make sure that people are engaged and tuned in? Long ago, it was always the worry, if you're having a big meeting by a conference call, a majority of people are multitasking, right? They're not listening. And now that that's become our norm, we really have to think about that and make sure that the way that we're communicating and the modalities that we're using to do that work with the audience that we're trying to impart that to.
Well, as we close up here, I want to ask you both, as you're aspiring leaders and there are other people out there who want to follow in your footsteps, what's maybe either the best advice you've ever received, or maybe the worst advice? Sometimes we can learn a lot from the worst.
So I'll take a stab at it. So I think the best advice that I've ever received is, no one will advocate for you in your career more than you. And so I think that just encapsulates so much. And so what I have taken from that is to really challenge yourself to be the best that you can be, and advocate for yourself. It's okay to advocate for yourself, prove yourself, be forthcoming with your communications, and don't wait for someone to recognize you in some cases. Really advocate and do so in a professional way. And that has helped me for several years, from the wise words of wisdom that my colleague at the time had shared with me.
And it's funny, mine would be about the same. You know, if there's something that you want, don't be afraid to ask for it. Because if it doesn't turn out the way you wanted to, it can't really be a big surprise. So sometimes those are uncomfortable situations. I'll be the first person to admit I hate talking about myself. But if there's something that you're looking for, you just got to really put it out there. And you're surprised at how many people will come up to help and get you there and achieve those goals.
Awesome. Well, there were a lot of great takeaways here. We can walk away with advocating for ourselves, personal networking. So look around and who else is here and see who you can connect with. Ask them what they thought about the panel. All of those seem like great ideas to take away. And congratulations to you both for being stars in your industry. And I thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much, Amy, for moderating the conversation. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You guys were great. Bye.
Bye.
Put the ultimate in high-fidelity music listening within the reach of everyone. The tape is now completely rewound, ready for play. All in thrilling new sound. tape is now completely rewound. Ready for play.
All in thrilling new sound.